Just because the world is unfriendly to your budget doesn't mean you have to be. The Moza R3 and Moza R5 are some of the best budget-friendly racing wheels out there. They serve as great entry points to the direct drive marketplace, and you're going to notice a significant upgrade in quality over something like the Logitech G920, which was the wheel that I started off on. But how different is the force feedback between something like the R3 and the R5? Well, I don't have those products, so I can't test them directly, but what I can do is take my Moza R12 and limit it to near the same amount of force that the R3 and R5 will give you. The Moza R12 is going to be limited to 6 Newton meters, which is the lowest torque setting that you can get on the Pit House software, and then you're going to use the additional game sensitivity slider to reduce the percentage even further. Okay, so we are in Forza Horizon 6 and we are testing the R5 profile. Just a quick rundown of how we are establishing this test. We are making sure that the force feedback settings are outputting the maximum allocated torque. So I've achieved that by leaving most of the details in Forza Horizon 6 at default, but increasing the road field to maximum and also the force feedback intensity in the game to maximum. We are limiting it only in the Moza Pit House. And the reason that we're doing that is because if this was the if this was set up to the R12's settings, this wheel would be completely unturnable. It would be unusable because it's outputting the maximum force of the R12. But since we are limiting it, we're essentially making sure you are feeling the full effect of 5 Newton meters and the respective 3 Newton meters when we do the R3 test. So that's enough about that. So how does the R5 settings feel? This feels like the optimal driving experience. This is how I would have my R12 set up in general, and I might use this as my driving profile, but there's definitely tightness in the wheel. When you turn it, you're getting a decent amount of resistance. It feels like if I were to, let's try to do some understeer here. Yeah, so you can feel the understeer take effect where the wheel essentially breaks traction with the road, and now you have a little bit more freedom of movement. One test that we're going to do here as well is let's see how much the wheel snaps back. So I'm going to crank it and then I'm going to release it. So you can see how fast it was able to spin. I wouldn't want to stick my hand in that while it's spinning, and this feels like an experience that I would expect a nice wheel. So let's go ahead and drop the settings to the R3. Okay, so now we have it set to 6 Newton meters of torque, limited to 50% of that torque. Same settings inside Forza. Almost immediately, you feel a significant reduction in the resistance of the steering wheel. I can still feel the detail in the road pretty well. I don't feel like the car is guiding itself in the same way as the more intense force feedback was. As you're going around corners, you can feel when you're at the limit of the steering capability of the car, because the force feedback will break. It will give you that sense of when the traction breaks, and then you'll just kind of guide it back to where it's supposed to be. But with this, the wheel is pretty loose, and I'm not really getting any resistance at all. I mean, there is definitely resistance there, and I would assume that the quality of that resistance is going to be kind of similar. If I was driving with this, I would want more. I felt pretty satisfied with the R5 settings, but let's do the return to center test. We're gonna crank it. Oh wow. That is, so as I'm driving this, if this was all I had and I wasn't used to anything else, this would probably be a pretty good experience. It's certainly an upgrade over the Logitech or Thrustmaster entry-level wheels, but I think the limitations of 3.5 Newton meter experiences is going to be pretty apparent very quickly in your sim racing journey. We're going to go ahead and get out of the game and we're going to talk a little bit more about it, okay? Alright, so now that we're done with the actual test, what were my thoughts on the whole thing? The Moza R5 settings overperformed and the Moza R3 settings definitely underperformed. in my personal opinion. Moza R5 felt like the optimal driving experience. It felt like I had enough leftover torque to really give you the kind of snapback you needed for drifting if you wanted to do that. The tension in the steering wheel was really good. It just felt like a good experience. The R3 settings, however, left me feeling like I would want more. The wheel was very loose in my hands. The detail on the road was surprisingly good. It more than likely is going to be a pretty significant upgrade over something like a gear-driven wheel or belt-driven wheel. The biggest caveat is, if you can't afford a good stable platform with the Moza R5, those benefits are not going to be that useful. You're going to get a much better driving experience if you get the Moza R3 with less horse feedback intensity and detail, and you get a better set of pedals and a more stable cockpit or wheel stand, because taking the R5 and strapping it to your desk just isn't gonna give you a good feeling. So it really comes down to your personal budget. However, in the specific case of one of the reasons I made this video, somebody was asking about if they could go for the R5 or the R3 with a full manual like clutch and shifter. I would highly recommend you skip the clutch and shifter and go with the higher force feedback. I just recently upgraded to having the full manual with the clutch pedal and the shifter about a year after I made my initial purchase, and I can tell you that that experience is less of a jump in quality than the better wheel was. So what I'll say is, if you can afford a good cockpit, a decent set of load cell brake pedals, go with the R5. Skip the shifter and the clutch pedal. Get the better wheel. I promise you will not regret it. Just get the better wheel, I promise. Thanks for watching. You guys have a good one. Happy racing.